Okay, today I'm gonna be talking about period one, what happened and why, and some other key events that happened during this particular time period. Let's get into it. So, period one, it starts with an introduction of North America before the United States was even born. Basically, it's basically an introduction to North America prior to European contact. The aforementioned period focused primarily on these group of individuals called Native Americans, who were the original inhabitants of North America and the surrounding places. They were a very interesting and diverse group, evidently due to the many types of civilizations and societies. These societies existed as a result of adaptation to their unique environments. For example, Native American groups such as the Pueblo were sedentary and rarely migrated, while Native Americans in the Great Plains, Great Basin, were nomadic people due to to arid land being the only type of land available to them, and so they adapted, and became hunter-gatherers and nomadic people. A little background was before why this whole period actually came into being was because Muslims were primarily in control of all land-based trade routes to Asia and were considered controlling, given the fact that they would sometimes close all land-based routes to Asia. Evidently, European countries then looked to establish water-based trade routes. Portugal was successful, and Spain, observing its success, decided to copy the trend and explore. A man by the name of Christopher Columbus sailed west with the help of a tool called a sextant. And a sextant is also a very important tool, which you'll know it's basically like a compass. It's like a very old compass, I guess. And upon his arrival, discovered gold. He brought this discovery to Spain, and so began the age of exploration. European exploration is rooted into a concept known as the three G's: gold, God, and glory. It's a very important concept that you should be able to comprehend and understand in order to succeed in this time. Succeed when tested when it comes to your knowledge of this time period. So another a very important time. A very important event that happened during this time period was the Columbian Exchange, which basically refers to the transfer of plants, animals, disease, and people between Europe, Africa, and the Americas. This exchange had far-reaching impacts on both sides of the Atlantic. European disease, such as smallpox and measles, devastated Native American populations, while crops like corn and potatoes from the Americas revolutionized European diets. The exchange of goods and ideas also shaped cultural interaction between the Old World and the New World. The Old World and the New World basically refers to um, Old World refers to Europeans in their home country, and the New World refers to the newly discovered area. Um, Spanish and Portuguese colonization was also a thing. Spain and Portugal were the first European powers to establish colonies in the Americas. Spanish conquistadors such as Hernan Cortez and Francisco Pizarro conquered large indigenous empires in present-day Mexico and South America. These conquests brought vast wealth to the Spanish crown, as well as the establishment of colonies and the encomienda system, which is basically a reward system made by the Spanish government, which basically stated that if you're able to do this, we'll give you a piece of land for free, and you get to do whatever you want with the land. Which was it basically exploited indigenous labor. In English colonization, on the other hand, were driven by a combination of religious, economic, and political motivation. The establishment of Roanoke, the lost colony in 1587, was a failed attempt, but it set the stage for future English settlement. The successful establishment of Jamestown in 1607 marked the beginning of permanent English settlement in North America. Interaction between Native Americans and European colonizers were complex and varies depending on what group of individuals, what group of colonizers the spotlight has been shown on. For example, The Spanish were known for they try to forcefully assimilate the Native Americans into their culture and ignored any sort of outside because they basically considered the Native American as the word as unknowledgeable and barbarians. Yeah, that was the word. While some Native Americans groups initially formed alliances with the Europeans, others resisted the presence. Others would include the Spanish, a little bit of English, but not that much. But the French were huge allies of Native Americans because they instead of ignoring their culture, they assimilated. They basically intermarried. There was intermarriage between both ethnic groups and other positive, I guess, forms of assimilation. Conflicts such as the Spanish conquest and the Powhatan wars in Virginia arose as a result of these interactions, leading to profound changes in Native American societies. Religious diversity played a very significant role in this early time period. It was basically the base of every single conflict with the Native Americans because they believed Native Americans were barbarians and were uncivilized. So, for example, the Spanish believed that their God was more superior, Christianity was more superior. The Spanish, like I said, brought Catholicism to the colonies, while the English established Anglican, the Church of England, colonies in Virginia. Additionally, Protestant groups seeking religious freedom, such as the Puritans and the Pilgrims, settled in New England. These religious differences influenced the development of colonial societies and the concept of religious tolerance in the future. So the main conflict in this time period was I would say a conflict of interest and the freedom of religion, basically, because Native Americans were traditionally they had deities or as if from a god, but then the Spanish considered those they considered the Native Americans uncivilized, so they thought your God isn't meaning anything to me, so I'm gonna just force you to assimilate to my religion. Which they thought it was the conflict here was the feeling that my religion is superior to the other. This what this happened constantly with the Spanish Americans and the Native Americans and the English and the Native Americans. Although the English didn't really have they didn't really have a lot of contact with the Native Americans. There was still some few conflict between them. So yeah, that was the main conflict, was this feeling of superiority over my religion or my ideas and ideologies. Thank you.